Welcome to SportsBeat KC, presented by Big O Tires. It's Wednesday, December 11th. I'm your host, Blair Kirchhoff, and we have a busy episode today. You're getting 3 segments. First, you'll hear from Kellis Robinett, who covers Kansas State. The Wildcats were invited to a bowl game on Sunday, as expected, but not the one they expected. Kellis tells us where K-State is going and why there was a bit of fan backlash in the aftermath of the announcement. Next, you'll hear from Patrick Mahomes. Wednesday is his day to meet the media. He covers topics like his hand injury, this week's counterpart, Broncos and former Mizzou and Lee Summit High quarterback Drew Lock, and his honest assessment on why the offense has been a bit sluggish in recent games. Next up, Sporting KC. The club made a huge acquisition this week, signing Mexican star Alan Pulido with a transfer price tag of $9.5 million. We hear from Sporting KC coach Peter Vermes on the magnitude of the signing, and then we chat with star reporter Shaun Goodwin, who covered the news. There's something for everyone today. Let's get started with Kellis Robinett on Kansas State.
Kellis is here. How you doing, Kellis?
I'm doing good, Blair. Pleasure as always.
You know, I really enjoyed reading your stuff over the last few days after leading up to the bowl announcement, Kansas State, and then in the days after the announcement. K-State is heading to the Liberty Bowl to play Navy, and it's a newsworthy. It was a newsworthy announcement. And I think the temperature of the Kansas State fans initially was a little disappointment. Has that changed at all since the Sunday announcement of the bowl destination?
I think it has a little bit. There are obviously some people who are still disappointed, but I think for the most part, people are warming up to the idea of Memphis a little bit. Navy is an unusual opponent, somebody they wouldn't normally see. They're ranked in the top 25, so if Kansas State can go out there and win this game, that means the Wildcats would have a pretty good shot at ending up in the top 25 themselves, which is something they haven't done in a good long while. And, there are some perks to Memphis. The game's on the 31st. It's not right around Christmas, so you don't have to decide whether you want to travel and be away from family on December 25th. And it's an afternoon kickoff time. So unlike the Alamo Bowl, you can still go out and have New Year's Eve night to yourself if you want it. And it's a drive fans can make. They can get to Memphis. About 9 hours from Manhattan. It'd only be about 7 from Kansas City. So there are definitely some perks. But at the same time, you look and see State playing Notre Dame in Orlando and Texas playing Utah in San Antonio. And there's definitely some jealousy still. I think that'll probably stick around until the end of the bowl season.
Let's talk about how that happened and why Kansas State felt the way that, or fans felt the way that they did in the aftermath of the bowl. So after Oklahoma and Baylor finished 1 and 2 in the Big 12 final standing, and both of those schools were selected to play in the college football playoff Oklahoma was with Baylor in a New Year's Six bowl in the Sugar Bowl. Well, that moved everybody up in the bowl pecking order, which meant the bowls that you just said, the Camping World Bowl in Orlando, the Alamo Bowl in San Antonio, moved up, and Big 12 schools that might otherwise not have been available to those bowls became available to those bowls. And Kansas State, I think, felt going in, and I know I read what you had written and heard from some Kansas State fans myself that they believed that Orlando or San Antonio was a more likely destination. And I think as the day approached and the day unfolded, that Saturday of the college, championship games, that conference championship games, that San Antonio was seeming a little more likely. So what happened in your mind? What happened, and why did Kansas State end where it did?
Well, it was definitely a weird deal. On Friday when Oregon beat Utah in the Pac-12 championship, that seemed to be a really good thing for Kansas State and seemingly, paved the way for them to get to San Antonio or Orlando for one of those two games, because it didn't look like the Pac-12 was going to the playoff and the Big 12 was. So like you just mentioned, that opened up a spot in one of those two bowls. And then a Saturday came around and Kansas State had conversations with the Alamo Bowl Their conversations were really good. Everybody in Manhattan thought they actually had the lead over Texas for that game. And as people went to bed Saturday night, it seemed, I don't want to say like a done deal, but close to it. I mean, people here really, really thought it was going to be Kansas State versus Southern California in the Alamo Bowl, which would have been a pretty cool game and given some fans here a rematch of some of those games in the early 2000s when Pete Carroll was at USC and Bill Snyder was obviously coaching here. But then basically what changed was when the New Year's Six Bowl announced their picks, Utah got snubbed from the mix. So all of a sudden, the Alamo Bowl couldn't take USC anymore because Utah was the obvious number 2 team out of the Pac-12, and you can't pass on them when they're sitting there. So for whatever reason, that completely changed the Alamo Bowl's way of thinking. They wanted K-State USC, but they didn't want K-State Utah. They were worried nobody would watch the game just because neither team has much of a brand name. And all of a sudden, basically at that point, they said, well, let's bring Texas into this because they've got a name. Fans might spend the night, but they'll still come down and we'll have a good crowd. And more people will watch Texas Utah than K-State Utah. All of a sudden, that just sent a big old wrench into everything. And then all of a sudden, the Camping World Bowl, which thought they were in Texas, switched to Iowa State just because they thought their fans might travel a little bit better. Texas, the Texas Bowl, didn't want to have Texas A&M and Kansas State playing each other again, which is what we had a few years ago in Houston. So at that point, the only option was the Liberty Bowl. And it kind of just shows how how small the, margin for error is in all those things. One little thing goes wrong, and all of a sudden the team can go from one bowl to another.
Is there a value in terms of perception for Kansas State because of where it ended up in the bowl game? I guess what I'm saying is it's Kansas State can feel snubbed because of where it ended up going bowling and what the bowl pecking order is for the Big 12. Is there a value to being snubbed? Does it hurt in recruiting, I guess is what I mean? Does it hurt in perception? Is it, do schools get over it after a few days and it really doesn't have any impact? I have noticed what Gene Taylor, the athletic director, has been saying, since then. He's been encouraging people to buy tickets, and I saw the photos today of fans lining up to buy tickets. So is there any damage to perception when a school ends up in a bowl that might not seem, or they might not seem what they deserved?
There might be some, but I would say it would be a bigger deal falling from like a major bowl to a second-tier bowl. Like in 1998 when Kansas State went from almost playing in the national championship game to falling all the way down to the Alamo Bowl, I think something like that hurts. But I don't know that this is exactly that. All 4 teams that we had mentioned for those games were all tied for third in the Big 12 standings. And does a recruit at home really care about the difference between the Alamo Bowl and the Liberty Bowl? Probably not. Like I said, fans are warming up to it a little bit. The only thing you really miss out on is if it would have gotten the invite to, say, Orlando to the Camping World Bowl, could have had a once in a lifetime kind of deal opportunity to play Notre Dame, which I think people probably would have noticed that a little bit more than anything else. But other than missing out on that, I don't know that there's any long-term effect. I mean, while the coaches are out recruiting players right now, I'm sure they're just hitting them over the head with the fact that they're the only team in the country that beat one of the 4 playoff teams this year. And I think they probably value that more than, the difference between the Liberty Bowl and the Alamo Bowl. And we'll see what happens on December 31st. If Kansas State wins the game, this would be, a footnote at the end of the season. I don't think anybody will care. If they lose or lose badly, then maybe people will make a bigger stink about it. We'll have to see.
Did you notice the little social media back and forth between Iowa State and Kansas State fans after Jamie Pollard, the Iowa State athletic director, actually tweeted a congratulations to Kansas State for apparently seeming enthusiastic about selling the Liberty Bowl tickets?
I did notice that. And, Farmageddon is turning into a nice little underrated rivalry here. I mean, pretty much ever since, the whole week leading up to the game they played here with Iowa State coming in as the favorite, there was some really good back and forth on social media. And then when Kansas State won the game, it kind of went their way, and they were hammering Iowa State fans all week, and now Iowa State gets the the better bowl out of the deal, so it's switched back. It's been pretty fun to watch online, and I think at this point it's pretty fair to say Iowa State's the number 2 rival in Manhattan right now.
That's great. Hey, let's turn our attention to the opponent. You mentioned Navy earlier and touched on some of the attributes of Navy. Kansas State finds itself in a very rare position of getting to live scout an opponent for a bowl game this weekend with Army playing Navy. What are the Wildcats going to see when they see the midshipmen this weekend?
Well, they're going to see a lot of triple option, and that's one thing that'll help, that both Navy and Army run the same offense. So if you're a defender on Kansas State and you need some clues or some tips on how to defend a triple option, you're going to see it for 4 straight quarters on Saturday. And yeah, I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. How often does that happen when the bowl announcement comes out and then you can sit down and actually watch the team play a live game? I think that'll actually work to Kansas State's advantage, a team that doesn't go up against this style of offense very much. But it sounds kind of crazy, because you would think with a triple option offense that Navy doesn't score a lot of points and games are real short. And while the games might not, last 3.5 hours like some you've seen in the Big 12, their games have actually been pretty high scoring. Navy scored 34 plus in more than half of their games. They've got a good offense. They've got a capable defense. They're ranked 21st in the country. They're really good at taking care of business against teams they should beat. They do have 2 losses, one against Memphis, one against Notre Dame. Both were by double digits, so that makes you think, Kansas State, if they come in and play their style, maybe they can do the same thing. But I'm very intrigued. You don't get to see teams around here play service academies very often. They're the only ones that run the triple option offense, so I'm actually looking forward to it. This is something I can say I really haven't seen much of before.
And look, Navy is 9. You mentioned the 2 losses. This 9-2 record comes from a team in a conference that's had a very nice season. Cincinnati, Memphis, and Navy are all in the top 25 right now. Temple had a terrific season. SMU had a great season. They've won 10 games. This is the conference that includes Central Florida, which has been in a college football playoff bowl each of the last couple of years. So this is not, don't be fooled by the conference that Navy plays in. They played in a very, very good conference this year and collected some nice victories along the way. And I noticed in your, things to watch with Navy, there's a Kansas City kid who's a player, not only a player but a big contributor for Navy, Jacob Springer, a defensive player. Opposition, they call him a striker, I think.
I wasn't sure what they meant by that. I was thinking about that one for a while.
Like 7 sacks, and he went to Park Hill South High School, graduated in 2017. So it'll be fun to know at least one local product playing for Navy. All right, Kellis, I said we weren't going to touch on basketball beforehand, but I think we need to touch on it. And all right, so that they had an opportunity to come back from the 2 losses suffered in the tournament at Fort Myers. They defeated, as expected, Florida A&M, and then another grand opportunity presented itself against Marquette on Saturday night, and Kansas State could not take advantage of it. Where is the program right now? What's the feeling about K-State basketball, where it is, and what the potential is?
Well, there's a pretty good amount of pessimism around the team right now. I think the players themselves and the coaches are still optimistic they can get things turned around. But at 5-3 without a victory over, a decent team so far, you have to start wondering were the Big 12 coaches right when they picked them to finish 9th in the preseason poll. If you look at their Ken Palm rating, they're at 84 now, which is by far the worst Big 12. He's only got them projected to win 14 games all season. And, I wouldn't write them off just yet. There have been plenty of examples in the past where Bruce Weber's teams struggle out of the chute, and get their act together around Christmas and then go on to have an okay season. I think that's still, possible here. They've just got too much talent to just give in and go winless in the Big 12 or something like that. But they've definitely got some things that they need to sort out. It's just been striking to me how much they missed the shooters they had last season, and Mal Stokes, Barry Brown, Dean Wade. I probably naively thought that Cartier-Jada and Xavier Sneed and even a freshman like DeJuan Gordon would be able to step in and shoot the ball and get some points a little bit easier than they have. But, man, this team just, for whatever reason, they can't shoot from three. They can't shoot from two. They're not very good from the free throw line. And until they get that figured out, it's hard to, project them to win too many games. They'll probably beat Alabama State tonight. Then after that, they got Mississippi State, St. Louis, and Tulsa. And at this point, any one of those wins would be their best win of the season. So the time is now if they want to get it turned around, and we'll, I guess, just have to wait to see if they can.
Very good, Kellis. Hey, it was great catching up, and we will talk to you again soon.
All right, thanks, Larry.
The biggest sale of the year is happening now at Big O Tires. Buy 2 tires, get 2 free on select tires in stock. That's 2 free tires when you buy an alignment and tire protection package. That's 50% off tires at Big O Tires. It's going on now, but it all ends soon. Buy 2 tires, get 2 free at all participating Big O Tires. Installation additional, plus shop fee of up to 10% of non-discounted retail price, not to exceed $35. Hurry, sale ends Monday, December 23rd.
The Broncos are on tap for the Chiefs on Sunday. What did Patrick Mahomes have to say about the game, his recent play, and other topics? Here he is in his usual Wednesday day at the podium.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Denver Broncos, how different are they this time around? Obviously a young quarterback offensively, but how different are they? Are they playing with more confidence?
Yeah, defensively, they've always had a really good defense that's going to cause problems and do stuff that we're going to have to answer. And so for us, it's about going out there and keep building, keep getting better each and every week. And we understand now that with how their quarterback's playing, they're playing energized. And so we're excited for a great opportunity against a great opponent in Arrowhead.
Pat, how's the hand?
It's doing better. I mean, a lot of the swellings went out in these last 2 days, and so I was able to throw the football around today, and I'm excited to go out and practice and be able to spin it around there. But definitely it was a little scary after the game when it was a little bit the bruised and the swelling and stuff like that. But as we've kind of done more and more treatment, the swellings went away, so I was able to throw the football and everything.
You'll do your normal load in practice today?
Yeah, that's what we're going to try to do. I mean, that's the plan. We're going to go out there and just test it out and see where I'm at. But as far as throwing, I was able to throw and do everything like that and take snaps from under center, so I'm excited to be able to get out there and practice.
What is the treatment for a hand, Patrick? I mean, icing, encasing it in ice, so what do you do?
Yeah, it's a lot of different hand exercises and icing and everything. I mean, just like anything else, any other bone or muscle, you get to kind of just get that swelling out and do that first, and then once that's out, you can kind of do more and more to build the strength back up.
Does it hurt enough that it makes you forget about the knee and ankle?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just trying to take care of my body in general and just making sure that I'm as healthy as I can be every single week, and the training staff does a great job of that, and so we'll make sure we still rehab everything and make sure I'm ready to go.
Last couple of days with throwing around, have you been able to grip the ball normally, or are you still having to adjust a little bit?
Yeah, today was probably the first day I was able to really get a grip on it. I was able to kind of flick it around yesterday, but today was probably the first day where I was able to really grip the ball and throw it and could actually drive the ball a little bit downfield.
Back in camp, you had this joke with McColl to keep running. It was on social media. Just how far do you think he's come as you've seen him develop, as a rookie here?
Yeah, he's grown every single week, and I mean that's what you ask for in a rookie. I mean, it's a hard offense to learn, and whenever he's getting his opportunities, he's making the most of it. And so he's still getting better each and every week. Obviously, he's super talented. He can make plays when he gets the ball in his hands. So we're gonna keep utilizing him in the best way possible, and hopefully he keeps scoring touchdowns.
Have you and Drew Lock ever crossed paths?
I don't think I've actually got to meet him. I've kind of went to some of the same QB coaches, and of course he's from Kansas City, so I'm sure we will at some point. But he's a great quarterback with a lot of talent, and I got to watch him when he was at Missouri and everything like that.
Do you relate to his experience a little bit, Patrick, as a young quarterback, seeing him get his first games out there and have success?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he kind of like me, he got to sit behind a veteran quarterback that's had a lot of success in the NFL, and so he's got to learn a lot, and you can see it now. I mean, the way he's able to kind of go about the process and do everything and get in there and have success, and so you understand that you have to learn as much as possible in a short amount of time so that when you get your opportunity, you can make the most of it.
I know it's the other side of the ball, but what does it say about Frank that he's been pushing through this, for the defensive side there?
Yeah, it just shows the competitor that he is, and him and Tyron and Chris Jones and all these guys that they just compete every single day. They want to be the best. They want to get better each and every day, and you have to have that as a mentality of a team if you want to get to the goals that you set at the beginning of the season.
He was sick, I guess, right? Had the stomach thing or something. When someone's sick and you're in the locker room, you guys spend so much time together, you guys just kind of avoid it. No one wants to get sick, because we've seen some teams where 7 or 8 guys are sick.
Yeah, I think you just try to do whatever you can with the Germex and keeping your hands clean and doing as much as possible. I mean, Rick and them do a good job of kind of giving us these baselines and then keeping those guys kind of, I don't want to say quarantined, but where they can get better and not hurt anyone else. And so you just trust in the process of what they do every single day.
Have you learned it? Oh, sorry, BJ. Have you learned anything about Frank Clark in your year now with him as a teammate?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he's a true competitor, I think, is the biggest thing. I mean, obviously he has confidence and he loves the game of football, but the way he's able to get on the field and do whatever it takes in order to get a win, if that's stopping the run or if that's pass rush or just holding down his gap or whatever it is, he just wants to win. And so you want guys like that on your team. You want guys that'll do whatever it takes to win a football game.
What do you remember about him from that game last year in Seattle? Did he have much to say that night, or what do you remember about that?
Yeah, that you have to know where he's at on every single play. I think it was the biggest thing. I mean, we have 2 great tackles, and he was around the quarterback a lot just because of the type of player that he is. I don't think he sacked me, but he grabbed me a couple times, so I kind of hold that on him a little bit.
Travis Kelce's on the verge of making history in the NFL. He's just 11 yards shy of 1,000 for the year. 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons, and no tight end has ever done that. For you to be a part of it for these last couple of seasons, just what does it mean to you, and how has your relationship with him progressed from when you first got here and sat behind Alex to where it is now?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Trav is he does all these great things, but the type of person that he is the greatest thing that he could do. I mean, the way he's able to try to help everyone out, try to get everyone else open, and then whenever his number is called, he just makes the play and does whatever he can to move the chains or to score the touchdown and help the team. I mean, he is a true, just a great person and obviously a great player.
Can you speak to his touchdown on Sunday, what he had to do in terms of the read and the execution that he pulled off on the rushing touchdown?
It was funny because we watched the highlights of him in Cincinnati where he was running the same type of plays. And so, yeah, he pulled it. He had to kind of read the end. He pulled it, counted the numbers, got the number count and everything like that. And then he actually cut it back and found a way to get in the end zone. I like to take it an assist, though, because I kind of held the backside linebacker with my fake.
Does he then, like, just say, okay, see what I can do after a play like that, like bragging?
No, he really doesn't. I think it's just kind of who he is. I mean, he just loves the game. He loves being a part of the team, and you can see it with how he runs his routes. He's always running hard. He's always trying to get everyone else open, and then whenever he gets his number called, he makes plays.
Couple more, guys.
Patrick, two things. One, how strange was it for you to get called for the face mask the other day? And I mean, how much did you almost break your finger on that situation?
Yeah, it definitely was different. I obviously don't want to have my hand in anyone else's face mask, and probably not even my own. So I was trying to get it out as quickly as possible, but luckily it didn't hurt us too bad. But it was definitely a weird deal.
And then the other thing, it might sound like a funny question because you've had a lot of points and 3 straight wins, but the offense, in a lot of ways, has seemed a little bit out of sync the last 3 games. I wonder what you'd attribute that to, or if you agree.
Yeah, I think it's just not execution at high enough level, and it starts with me. I feel like there was times in the game where I could have maybe stepped up and bought a little extra time or stayed in the pocket, and I think there's just times, if you look back at last year, where I drift back and don't do the same things that I do at the beginning of the year. And so I'm really focusing in this week on the fundamentals, like I've kind of been saying these last few weeks, but just trying to find a way to where I can help out the offensive line because they're doing their job of kind of walling those guys around, and I can step up in the pocket and hit these guys and give them time to run routes.
Why does that happen late in the year, do you think? Are you just kind of tired tired, or something reflexively kicks in?
Yeah, that's how I've always been. Since I was in high school, I kind of sometimes rely on my arm and rely on these back foot throws. And, I mean, those are all cool and everything like that, but you want to make sure that you still doing the fundamentals, because whenever you get to the end of the season, you're going to have to step up and make these big-time throws, and I want to make sure that my fundamentals are in the right way.
Okay, thanks, guys. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks a lot, man.
Hey, it's Blair. Hey, we have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns we have to offer. And it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. For your convenience, your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. A lot of subscription services won't tell you that. They'll just sneak it on there. We just told you. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening. Here's a portion of Peter Vermes' teleconference introducing standout Alan Pulido from Mexico. After Vermes, you'll hear from Shaun Goodwin, who covered the event for the Star.
Peter, Paul Tenorio from The Athletic here. Want to loop back to kind of what you started talking about at the beginning with MLS 1.0, MLS 2.0, and now 3.0. You guys were one of the leaders of the league in MLS 2.0, investing in the stadium, the training facility, winning trophies at the U.S. Open Cup, MLS Cup. Does this signing maybe signal, hey, in order to stay where we want to be in MLS 3.0, first team spending has to go up? And do you think it sends a signal around the league that, because of the spending that's going on at the higher levels, everyone's going to have to kind of up the first team spending in order to compete regularly?
I think it's a good question. I think there's no doubt that obviously the spending is here, and with spending comes higher quality players usually. But I also think that obviously you have to be very careful, because just because you go spend a lot of money doesn't necessarily mean that the player is going to work. I think you have to find players that fit the way that you want to play. They have to want to play in the environment that you provide, and they also have to come with the mentality to win. And so, one of the reasons I think that we necessarily haven't spent in the same framework as some of the other clubs is we probably just won't. We'll probably always be behind them. We'll probably always be behind them because we're a small market. But at the same time, I don't think that necessarily means that you're not trying to compete or win. I also think that it's been a little bit more difficult for us to find players that fit us. As I stated earlier, I think, there's been a lot of players that have come to our league. The only place they wanted to play was, for a team in California or a team in New York. I think those things are changing because people are seeing that our league, again, with 26 teams, there's a lot of opportunity out there for a lot of different players. And I think, even Alan making the decision to come to us, I think has a lot to do with a lot of other things that we can offer, but also knows that we have been and will continue to be a competitive team, and gives an opportunity to try to win. And I think that's an important aspect, and we will continue to try to be at least a team that's competitive year after year. And to do that, to answer your question, to be really specific, I think at certain areas of the field, at times when you don't have or you can't develop that player, you're going to have to go and purchase that player.
Hey, Peter. Shaun Goodwin, Kansas City Star. How do you see Alan fitting into your team tactically? And going off that, will we see a variation from the typical 4-3-3, or are you going to stick with that heading forward?
I think I'll answer the first question. It's simple. I think he's a striker up top. As I said before, I know everybody has their own opinions of how players play and formations, but it's simple. He'll be in the middle of the park for us. I think, again, he's an easy guy to play through. But I love his courage in and around the box. I love the way that he's not afraid to get in on really tough situations, where he'll stick his nose on the end of a ball, and at the same time he can hit the strike from distance as well. So it's pretty simple. He's going to play center forward for us.
Shaun Goodwin writes about Sporting Kansas City for The Star. Shaun, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you, Blair?
I'm good. You went, or I guess they didn't have a press conference. It was a teleconference, right, with Peter Vermes and the latest acquisition, Alan Pulido. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, Alan Pulido. I think he pronounces it more Alain Pulido, but you know, is how it is.
What is this was big news for Sporting. What's the significance of this?
Significance, I mean, not just for Sporting, but for MLS as a whole. I think it's being wisely kind of reported that not predicted, but the fee was around $9.5 million. Sporting in their history of spent about $4 million on players alone. So one, you've smashed the transfer record fee. But looking at the team as itself, we saw the struggles last year. You've not really had an out-and-out goal scorer since 2016 with Dom Dwyer. And we've seen that struggle these last couple of years. So to finally get a guy of Pulido's talent in there, we should see something a bit more bright and more attack-minded play from Sporting next year.
So he played in Liga MX for
Guadalajara,
right? Yep. And what were his what are the significant numbers there? He was goal scorer, like you said.
Yeah. In between, so he went there 2016, and the 3 years he played there, he scored 41 goals. Don't quote me on that, but it's around that area. But most recently, he scored 12 goals in 18 games in the last Liga MX campaign. And I guess if you look at other top goal scorers who've came to MLS, the last guy from Liga MX was Rui Diaz with the Sounders. He was top goal scorer there, and since then he's been killing it for the Sounders. So I'm not saying a pair of players going to follow the exact same path, but certainly a solid omen to have such a talented player in Liga MX come over to the MLS.
Right, that's what to me that's what's significant to have a player of this caliber here. Sporting had invested a total of $4.5 million in transfers, and they've more than doubled that with Pulido. What is it about MLS that might be attractive to some international players?
I think obviously as the league is growing, they're kind of figuring it out a bit more, not just from the play standpoint, but the money standpoint as well. In the league as in itself is giving teams more TAM money and allowing teams to spend more money on these kinds of players. But typically in the past, you see foreign players go just typically interested in the big cities, getting a lot of Red Bulls, Galaxy, LAFC. But luckily for Sporting KC, they've at least got that history of success, which is, I think, has a huge draw, at least for maybe a team in the heartland, was to still be able to pull a guy of Pulido's talent here. And I think now that puts Kansas City in that next league, I guess, with the big boys. They've made that big spending jump, and I think they should be here to stay.
This is a move that is made with improvement is expected. I mean, this Sporting will be expected to be a better club next season because of this. Yeah,
I think my thing with Pulido is, Christian Gamer's first stint here went great, but obviously last year he still picked up 8 goals, but one of those was a hat-trick in one game. He had a long streak of not scoring, and I think the problem with him was the ball had to go through him, but then he didn't work too well with the wingers, where Shallowy, Nemeth, Jer, so you can name anyone who plays on the wing. And the difference we've got with Pulido now is, he plays that number 9 role, but he's a lot quicker on his feet, he's better to play, the ball through him, he can drop back a little bit, and he's still going to allow those wingers, like, someone as talented as Russell to cut inside. And you didn't really have that with Nemeth. And I think you saw with when Hurtado played every now and again last year, you kind of got a little sense of that back. Right. So I think with Pulido as out and out, number 9 striking out, we should see that a lot more next season.
Well, if nothing else, Sporting certainly got more interesting with this signing.
Yes.
Shaun, it was great to see you, man. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
That wraps up a busy day for SportsBeat KC, sponsored by Big O Tires. Hope you enjoyed it. If so, let us know with a rate and review, and a shout out to St. Polyboy26, who posted some kind words on Apple Podcasts. The SportsBeat KC staff appreciates that. Links to the stories we discussed can be found in the show notes and on kansascity.com. Big thanks to producer Derek Donovan, who stitched together all of these recordings around hosting a Facebook Live today. Well done, Derek. We'll be back on Thursday talking Chiefs, first at a Facebook Live from Big O Tires in Raytown, and later, magically, turned into a podcast. Until tomorrow, thanks for listening.